Hello and welcome to a review of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, comparing the book to the film. Now, I myself have to start this video by saying that I first watched the film when it was in cinemas before I ever read any of the books. So, bit of a backstory here for you. I was at school and one of my classmates' parents were like to my parents, I'm taking my daughter to see this Harry Potter. Would it be okay if we took Thomas to see the film as well? My parents said, yes, of course, that's not a problem at all. So, we went to the cinema. And of course, that music all started. It's a great film. Obviously, you start off with Dumbledore arriving at Privet Drive, where McGonagall is already there, and Hagrid arrives with Harry, and the whole story starts. 10 years later, you have Harry grown up, living under the stairs at number 4 Privet Drive with his aunt and uncle and his cousin Dudley. Now, of course, after one particular morning, Harry starts receiving these mysterious letters, exactly detailing where in the house he is sleeping, or exactly which room in the hotel he will be in, or exactly where in the shack upon the island upon the sea is. So, anyway, after a little bit of travelling around, of course, Harry finally gets his letter hand-delivered to him by Hagrid, who explains to him in quite broad outline what has happened with the Dark Lord, what's made Harry famous, how he killed his parents, all that sort of stuff, and obviously the larger mystery of it all. So, anyway, after Hagrid has taken Harry to Diagon Alley to buy all of his stuff, goes to the bank, buys all his books, buys his robes, buys his wand, all that sort of stuff. A couple of weeks have passed, and it's time to go to the station to get to platform 9 3/4 and to get onto the Hogwarts Express to go to Hogwarts. Now, Harry, fortunately, not knowing exactly how to get onto platform 9 3/4, overhears the Weasleys, who explain to him how to get onto the platform. He does that, gets onto the train, and meets, and finally talks to Ron, who becomes firm friends, and all the rest. Then, of course, they meet Hermione, who, of course, is a bit offish at first, as they are from... she is very bright, very intelligent, who knows all the books off by heart, who basically has learnt a few little magic spells already, and then you've got Ron, who's been brought up in the wizarding world, hasn't really bothered to read any books, doesn't really care until he actually gets to Hogwarts, where he is going to be taught how to do it properly, because he's always watched his parents do all the magic. So, anyway, when they finally get to Hogwarts, they get sorted into the houses. Of course, are Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin. And, of course, when it comes to the sorting, Harry is a bit nervous. He doesn't want to go into Slytherin, because he's obviously heard all the bad things about Slytherin. So he's hoping and praying that he will not be. But the Sorting Hat finally decides to put him in Gryffindor. Now, after a few weeks, he starts off all of his lessons and everything like that, and he meets all of his teachers. Most of all the teachers love him. They all think Harry Potter famous. We have to not look after him, but we have to be aware. Obviously, he is from a non-wizarding background, so we have to treat him a little bit differently. Snape, on the other hand, is like, no, Harry Potter is a menace. Don't like him, didn't like his father, and that's the end of that. So, anyway, another rivalry that Harry has picked up, of course, over his first few weeks at Hogwarts is undoubtedly Draco Malfoy and his bodyguards slash friends Crabbe and Goyle. Now, they of course have a bit of difficulties, and one of the few things that this all started off of course, is they're just kind of like, Draco thinks Harry should be friendly with him, but he's not, and so and Harry is trying to make the best choices he possibly can, and he thinks the best way of doing that is to stay with Ron. Anyway, so over kind of Halloween and everything like that, Harry and Ron become friends with Hermione because obviously they save her from a mountain trail that has been smuggled into the school to save, well, to as a distraction for someone to try and get something that's being hidden in the school. Also, there is of course the time when Harry and Draco were meant to be having a duel, a wizard's duel, in the cabinet room, but in the trophy room, sorry. And Draco, of course, blabbed to Filch, who of course almost catches them, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione almost get caught and almost get eaten by a three-headed dog called Fluffy. Anyway, now, going back to the story. Over the period of the year, things start getting more and more intense. Lessons start to improve. They start learning things. They start understanding a bit more about the magical world. Other things that happen are, of course, that their search for Nicholas Flamel has been finished. They found out who he is, they found out what he is famous for, and the fact that he's nearly 700 years old. So, pretty cool. Anyway, going back to the story. Harry, of course, has started Quidditch, and he's very good at Quidditch. He plays Seeker for the Gryffindor house team. And for someone who's never really been on a broomstick before, apart from one lesson, he has got natural talent, which is something supposedly been handed down to him by his father. Now, anyway, like I'm saying, over this year, obviously, things start getting a bit more intense. And one of those things that happens is that Hagrid gets given an illegal dragon's egg. And in this illegal dragon egg is, of course, an illegal dragon. And with this, obviously, Hagrid has always wanted a dragon. It's one of his biggest dreams that he's ever wanted. And so when he finally has this dragon, he is absolutely in love with it. He really wants to keep this dragon. Unfortunately, after the egg has been hatched and the dragon is getting bigger and bigger, Draco, who has finally kind of seen that Harry, Ron and Hermione seem to be sneaking off to Hagrid's hut quite a lot these days, decides to follow them one day and catches them. Now, and he goes and tells them. Anyway, on the day that fortunately, the day that they are meant to be taking the dragon, who Ron has finally decided to have to go and talk to his elder brother Charlie, who is training over in Romania to be a dragon keeper, he has to get in contact with him. And they finally do, and with that, they arrange to have friends of Charlie's come and pick up the dragon from the highest tower at Hogwarts, and then take it over to Romania to him. Anyway, unfortunately that morning, Ron gets bitten by the dragon. And he can't really do anything because his hand's all swollen, it's all horrible, so it's left down to Harry and Hermione. Now, on their way, Harry and Hermione and all that are caught by a teacher, and they are given detention. Also are caught are Neville in the books and Draco in the film and the books. Because, obviously, no student is allowed to be out of the school. Out after lights out and everything like that. So, they are all given detention, and many points are taken from each house. But their punishment is to spend a night in the Forbidden Forest with Hagrid. But with this what happens then is quite simply Harry has an encounter with a form that it later becomes clear was Voldemort, and he also has an encounter with the magical creatures into the forest. Now, after they have been in there and they've recovered and everything like that, and they have been punished and all that sort of stuff, life carries on until it becomes quite clear that near the end of the school year, Snape, who they believe is going to try and steal whatever the Philosopher's Stone, is happening very soon. Up to the point where they discover that Dumbledore has been called away by the Ministry of Magic. So it's going to happen tonight. So, Ron, Harry and Hermione decide it's time to go and make sure that doesn't happen. And so they go up to where Fluffy is, the three-headed dog. They sneak in, they hear that the music's being played, so the dog's out cold. They get in, and just as they're about to, after they've opened the door and just about to jump in down the hatch door, the music stops. So they all just jump in, and then obviously they land in there, and you have a number of different magical guards. First of all, you have Devil's Snare, which is a magical plant that can crush you to life, crush you to death even. Then you have keys, flying keys, and there's only one key that fits the door, but there's hundreds upon hundreds of keys up in the air. So Harry, having to use his Quidditch abilities, has to fly around and get the right key, which they do. Then the next one is Transfiguration, which is a giant chessboard where they have to play across a giant chessboard to get to the other side of the room, which they succeed to do, but unfortunately, because Ron has to sacrifice himself, he can't carry on the mission. The next chamber is potions, and this is only in the books, but I think would have been brilliant if you saw this on the film. I really do. I think it would have been superb if you actually saw this in the film. I really do. And there is a number of potions in bottles, some big to small, and everything in between. And there is a poem that says that obviously you have to find the right potion, or the right bottle with the correct potion in to let you through to the next door, which can only go through if you drink this potion. Some have poison in, and some have just got water in or wine in. So, anyway, because there's only enough potion in this particular bottle that Hermione works out is the right potion, they only Harry can go through. So, Harry goes through. And the last chamber has the Mirror of Erethet in. Now, I should mention that early on, around Christmas, or actually on Christmas Day, when Harry gets given his invisibility cloak, he starts going off and exploring Hogwarts. And after being chased by teachers and Snape and Filch and all that sort of stuff from the library, he finds the Mirror of Erethet in an empty classroom. After visiting it a few times with Ron, after explaining that it can show you his family, or whatever your dearest desire is, Harry stops going to see it because he's met by Dumbledore, who warns him of the dangers of looking into this mirror for too long. Anyway, going back to the end of the story. the Mirror of Erised is in there. And who is in there but not Professor Snape, but Professor Quirrell, a stuttering, nervous teacher who teaches Defense Against the Dark Arts, who, it turns out, isn't so gullible and easy, but he is a master pupil and student and follower of Lord Voldemort. He met him a few years ago, and underneath his turban he has actually got Lord Voldemort coming out of the back of his head. And it gets proven that Harry was completely wrong in his belief that Snape was a bad guy. Anyway, now, what happens then is quite simply, remarkably, Voldemort and Harry basically kind of have a war of words, and it becomes quite clear that Professor Quirrell cannot get the Philosopher's Stone out of the mirror, but Harry can, and Harry has to pretend that he doesn't have the Philosopher's Stone, because if he does, he'll have to give it to Quirrell and Voldemort, which he doesn't want to do. After a bit of a skirmish and a fight, in which Quirrell gets basically obliterated, because every time he touches Harry, he burns himself and he can't handle it. And after Quirrell is destroyed, Voldemort has to leave as a spirit, leaving Harry unconscious in this chamber. Now, after a few days, Harry awakes in the hospital wing of Hogwarts, and it comes to pass that Dumbledore arrived mere moments after Harry becomes unconscious and Voldemort has fled, rescuing Harry and saving Ron and Hermione at the same time. And after spending a few more days and Dumbledore also imparts information onto Harry about his past and the future that may be coming for Harry in the magical world. Now, one thing to know is that at the end of year feast at Hogwarts, Dumbledore gives out a number of last minute points. Many to Harry, many to Hermione, many to Ron, for their grave actions down in the chambers. But he gives 10 points to Neville, and Neville is the reason why Gryffindor wins for the first time in 7 years the House Cup, because he stands up not only to his enemies but to his friends to stop them from hurting Gryffindor. Now, can I just say, because I watched the film first, every time I read the books or anything like that, I will always imagine the actors who play the characters. It's just how my head works. I always imagine Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson as those three characters. And that's fine. But when I read the books for the first time, and you realise what is missing from the film, you discover that that book is much more multi-layered and much more impressive than the film. Even though the film is superb, and I really do like the film, but I do think the book, and I think you'll probably find this most of these reviews that I'm going to do about the Harry Potter series, is the book is much better. Anyway, all I'll say is I think, I'm not even going to do my normal rating system. All I'm going to say is which is better, book or film. I'm going to say the book is better, but the film is superb at the same time. So they're both excellent, and I think, obviously, without the book you couldn't have the films, but I honestly think it got me into reading, it got me interested in character creations, it got me interested in magic, everything like that. So, all I can say is, as the first book, thank you so much J.K. Rowling, because you have got me interested in literature. So thank you very much. Anyway, I just want to end this video saying thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, a subscribe, a comment down below. If you haven't heard of it recently, I have started doing a podcast over the last few weeks. It's called Earth Orange. There is a link to it on my it's just on my channel. So if you just go onto my videos, and you'll be able to find Earth Orange podcast. Please go and listen to the first few episodes that are up. I hope you're able to enjoy that. If you like, you can become one of my Patreons. The link is also down below. And as always, at the end of all of my stuff, I'll give you a little salute and say goodbye. Goodbye.